friends, two peas in a pod. But now we're seeing some deviation in the lineups because Alutemu, again, is just one of two players in APAC bringing Priest. And you know what? I think that this is the lineup that has what it takes to finally hand Glory a loss in the round robin.
Illuminate me, Gia. Why? How could Glory possibly lose a series of Hearthstone?
Just hot takes. I think Priest is favored against Rogue. But I am surprised to see Alutemu banning away Warrior and that he has Priest to begin with, which if you're in with the cool kids in EU who play a lot of Priest, it seems that the deck is more favored against Warrior than it is against Demon Hunter.
Right, so there's a lot of things you have to consider there, because again, it comes down to the fact I was saying where Druid, you feel like, is bad against both Warrior and Demon Hunter. So it doesn't really matter for that deck either way which one you're facing. Maybe you'd slightly rather ban Warrior, I think, than you would Demon Hunter, as probably an ever so slightly worse matchup for the Druid. One of the other big ones, of course, is, aside from the Priest, which I agree you would rather face Warrior, is your own Demon Hunter. I think you would much rather face the Mirror than you would go up against Warrior. So it kind of balances out in the end. Even though you're having a slightly better matchup against the Priest for the Warrior, you're having a worse matchup for the Demon Hunter. And overall, I think I still just like getting rid of the Warrior and relying on Priest as just a good deck at the moment.
Maybe that is the way to approach bringing Priest, because we've seen this type of lineup from Kin earlier on in Grandmasters, where he was leaving up Warrior and bringing Priest, but that didn't actually work out for him. Even having decks like Hunter, which supposedly are okay against Warrior. Don't look at our stats in GM. I don't think that is right by any margin at 17%.
Yeah.
But yes, maybe the way to approach Priest as a bring is not a target Warrior strategy or just a deck that's there to beat Warrior. That's how you might approach the deck on ladder because of the abundance. But here in a Conquest, Priest just seems to be at an overall high power level.
I completely agree. I think you'd have to go a little bit more in against Warrior if you wanted to go for a full-on target strategy. And even then, I wouldn't advise it, because Warrior has that kind of peak divine state. It can hit once in every so games where just absolutely nothing can beat it at all. It apotheosizes itself, if you want to take a leaf out of Priest's book. Yeah, I think you'd have to go with like some kind of crazy tech decks full of taunts or whatever that make you rubbish against everything else. So for the most part, I like Alutemu's strategy, and I think up against all of his opponent's decks, even the Demon Hunter, I think the Priest is fine.
Yeah, I think Priest has just hit the peak so much because it has itself risen in power level, because all the other decks have lowered a little bit with the rounds of nerfs once again hitting Demon Hunter. But we are just going to start off with a good old Mirror. Alutemu has the goods for the opener.
So Gia, mull this one over for me. Before the nerfs, Crimson Sigil Runner on the left-hand side of your hand, insta-keep. Don't even think about it. A 2-1 that draws a card. Brilliant. Is a 1-1 in this matchup worth keeping that doesn't even trade with any of the 1-drops from your opponent?
I would say it's probably still in the top half of cards in your deck that you would want to have in the Mirror, because again, it is still just something to do on one, and because a lot of these lists are cutting Sigil Runner or not replacing them with 1-drops, you have a lower chance of actually drawing a good 1-drop. It's still okay that you could play it and then draw a card on the next turn. If your opponent plays a 2-health minion, you could just trade with hero power. I'm not opposed to keeping it.
Well, on the other side, however, we are seeing the absolute maximum right from the start development from Alutemu. We talk a lot about knowing when to plan your swing turns. One is a very early turn indeed to go for a swing turn. But is that just how you play the matchup?
I can get behind it with this from Alutemu. If you're expending a lot of these resources, it's hesitant to do so if you don't have good follow-up, but he has the ideal follow-up, just Umbra Wing on 2, Spectral Sight for outcast position on 3, and could probably pair something else to do with it following turn. I think Alutemu is saying, I don't need to swing the game if right from the start I just snowball.
Well, snowballing is just absolutely the name of the game here for Glory. For Alutemu, sorry. Glory has a chance to swing back onto the board here with Satyr Overseer plus Twin Slice. But is that anywhere near ambitious enough, Gia? Do we need to set up for maybe a big Warglaves play instead by just passing for the next couple of turns with maybe an I-beam thrown in there?
That is what I'm looking at. I feel that the Satyr Overseer, aside from just getting traded down on board by plus Umberwing and then the 2/2 Eden up by this buff Battle Mage,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is good enough for Glory. Alternatively, though, the turn was pretty sad if it's just I-Beam Hero Power without a guaranteed turn 4, because what we were looking at happens from turn 5 to turn 6, at which point Glory might just be dead. Oh my gosh,
bad.
the draw!
Yeah, exactly. It was bad no matter what, and now it gets worse. But everything we are seeing here, Gia, to me, feels like the legacy of Alutemu's turn 1 play, where he just went everything in, as much as he possibly could. And now, the Battle Mage is value trading. He is dictating all the trades here with his hero power, with his weapon and the 1/1s, and Glory is just left without much of a hope at all.
Yeah, he is extremely reactive here. That is an okay draw in the sense that he can cheapen his I-Beam for killing the Satyr Overseer here. But he's still behind on board. Saving grace is that he's got Warglaves for the follow-up. And because of the I-Beams, it's still at a decent health total. So it is, I think, going to heavily rely on the quality of draws for both of these players. That is nuts. Another Overseer.
So I will say, as a reason to not go for Overseer here, turn 5 is often a power play as Demon Hunter. So you want to be setting up for a powerful turn 5, like Warglaves is what I'm thinking of in particular, as well as potentially Metamorphosis. So Alutemu is thinking here he should draw on this turn potentially, and then just play his Warglaves on 5 instead. But you have no guarantee to get that, of course.
Right. I think that the good plays for Glory are still fine for Alutemu. I think if your opponent goes Metamorphosis pass on 5, you are over the moon. That is so great for Alutemu if that's just Glory's whole turn. It is particularly the Warglaves that's scary, and that is what Glory has. But the thing is, if Glory just goes Warglaves, trade off 3 minions, that is 5 mana spent to be taking 8 damage, at which point they're just at board parity and Glory only has 1 charge remaining. So I think Alutemu is still comfortable with this.
Yeah, you've got to be trading those away, Glory. Those are going this turn or next turn, so just take that little bit less damage.
So this is the slow turn for Alutemu. What he really doesn't want to see is big development. Glaive Bounds, or even just a Cane. Any type of big minion would be problematic for Alutemu here, but he can keep cycling with this Chaos Strike. Question wants to save it for Altruist. Don't think it's worth it. Ooh.
Overall,
now you really wish you don't play the Chaos Strike.
Exactly. This is starting to look awkward for Alutemu now. He doesn't have any burst damage in hand outside of the Cane, and I mean, Altruist isn't really anywhere close to delivering lethal damage now. So, grow impatient. Does he develop instead of hero powering here?
Development looks so bad because Glory's just got the Warglaves already. I think it's fine to hold on here and possibly just Skull even without the outcast value. Sometimes that's just enough with Altruist.
I guess so, if he can find Metamorphosis or Warglaves.
Yeah, struggling to come up with a decision till the end. It was definitely a close one, but now this is Glory's opportunity to maybe swing it back with the Skull of his own.
Absolutely. Okay, it's a little bit underwhelming. But, of course, the Metamorphosis does equal a lot of damage on the next few turns. Ooh! But Alutemu, Skull into Skull here.
That's gotta be the play. You just rip it. And then, in many situations, I would say, you come up with, if not 2 turn lethal.
Right, yes. Yeah, you've got the Cane in hand. Metamorphosis costing 2 if you draw it. Is just very, very easy to get down.
Yeah. Hot Twin Slice as well. Only thing Alutemu has to be scared of is when whether he thinks Glory can kill him in 2 turns. And with only 3 showing, I think it's pretty unlikely.
Oh, gee, it's going to be so close.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Because even if he doesn't get lethal here, Alutemu can at the very least clear the board and then eat up so much of Glory's resources here. He is putting everything into play here.
Just praying that there's no Altruist, and you know, the more I watch this mirror, the more I get behind it. You cannot afford to play around the specific legendary. But Alutemu has spent the turn charging up for this. Oh man.
That's like the perfect top deck.
Oh yeah, it is super clean here.
Clears the board, develops his own, gets damage to face. Or he needs a miracle.
I don't think it is the perfect top deck. I think you would have rather had more card draw there because it would have died anyway. But it is great.
A good top deck from Alutemu.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Oh man, he is down to 3 HP. This Chaos Strike plus Metamorphosis. There's an out for Glavebound Adept, is there?
With Twin Slice now, I'd imagine so, yeah, right?
Oh, his Altruist of his own is too late. But he can clear from his perspective.
Yeah, that's lethal.
Oh, what?
With the hero power tacked on as well. That is exact lethal.
No way.
Whoa!
What?
Oh!
I didn't even notice.
That was the miracle that Glory needed. How does this man do it?
It's just one of those spots where you don't even count. You just play it and pray and hope it gets there. And it got there! Glory! That is 4-0 plays. No, that is 5-0 plays. There.
These people are friends, Gia. Glory just did that to his friend. This like if at the end of Lord of the Rings, Frodo just whirlwind slam dunk Sam into the Mount Doom. Like, this is betrayal of the highest order.
I was happy to see it. That was hype.
That was hype. And it is just classic Glory at this point. I think he played it well to be able to get there, of course. He had some very, very rough draws at the start. But it does just go to show how dynamic the Demon Hunter mirror is, Gia. Even though Alutemu got the dream start, the absolute dream, Glory was still able to pull it back.
Incredible. And we were saying that even without the skull off the top for Alutemu, it still looked really good for him for a skull, even without the outcast, just to be able to put together enough cards in the hand for the Altruist turn, but coming up a little bit short. And I take back what I said about the I-Beam not being a good mirror or not being great. I guess the great one was more card draw for lethal on the spot, but the healing could have been clutch there if Alutemu had gotten, if Glory had gotten any other spell to pair with Altruist than Twin Slice. Could have been just 1 or 2 off.
What could have been, Gia? Truly.
Oh man.
Crazy, crazy stuff. But that is, of course, the first match out of the way here for these two players. The Demon Hunter mirror is usually not quite so crucial, I have to say, given the likelihood of Demon Hunter to take a win at some point. But 1 win up is a great situation for Glory to be in, to be the first player to get up to 5-0 in Division A. I think probably across any of the regions, given how most of the regions seem to be a lot more balanced around the middle rather than going top and bottom with lots of winning and lots of losses. But we're going to have to go to a break before we can find out if he is going to do so. So don't go anywhere. Glory Alutemu continues after this. You are watching Hearthstone Grandmasters here for the Asia Pacific region, and you are watching Glory just absolutely tear apart Alutemu. We're learning the real, the font of his strength here, which is that even when he low rolls, secretly he is high rolling. You just don't even know it yet. It's just delayed a little bit, as it looked unwinnable for him that game with the Demon Hunter mirror, but still manages to pull things back.
The font of his power, you mean Comic Sans, right?
Yes, very nice.
Did you see the flavor text on the Font of Magic? Was it the Mage card? It actually just says it's Comic Sans. That's the flavor text of it. It's great.
It's a great joke. Good one, guys. Keep up the great work. But now we have to keep up our great work, Gia, by casting another Druid mirror here between these two players. Taking a look at the lists overall, we see no Starfalls, which is the kind of the classic way that you can add a little bit more interactivity to the matchup by clearing off the first wave of Glowflies. The real big difference, so far as I see it, is Ysera for Glory in the late game. Obviously, Ysera Unleashed, and no Ysera for Alutemu. I think probably coming at the cost of a Wrath that we can see there. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say that puts Glory in the lead, because we have seen the power of Ysera in this matchup, whereas Wrath not going to be doing all too much.
I do think it is ultimately a plus for Glory, but a near negligible plus, because out of all the Druid mirrors we've seen, I think it's only been one or two where it ended up actually coming into play. One did happen earlier today, though, so I'd be excited to see how that happens. It would be remiss for me to say that Starfall would be included in Irish decks. We know how they do it in Japan. You mulligan for proactive cards, and you're not putting reactive cards like Starfall in your deck unless it is the week where there's a bunch of, what was it? Paladin Shaman.
Yeah, imagine. Couldn't be our Japanese players. But Glory now with already the dream, but I didn't even realize Alutemu has found himself the dream in his own right. He literally just needs Wild Growth or the Innovate, and he is flying into the lead.
Yeah. But if he doesn't find those, Glory gets to go off a turn earlier.
Okay, at the moment, Glory is not summoning that many Glowflies. If he goes Wild Growth into Glowfly, he's only at 5, I think, assuming he draws a couple more minions.
Oh my gosh.
But Glory got it anyway.
So if Alutemu goes Vate over, he runs into a similar problem, as you said. Probably just 5 Glowflies after the draw next turn.
You just chill, right?
Yeah, I think it's just chill. I mean, he then has the option of going Mountain Cellar in the following turn. Oh.
So he's going to go Glowfly for likely 5. Extremely likely 5, given that the only other minion in his deck is Mount Cellar.
Okay,
I guess is likely to be enough.
Yeah. He goes in because... Oh, wow, that is just 4 now. He goes in because he knows his opponent is Glory, and he is likely to go in earlier, so you need to go Glowfly immediately.
No, but this gets you the same turn Glowfly, right? Whether you go Innovate Overgrowth or you go Innovate Glowfly.
But the difference is you have the Overgrowth played already, so you can follow up with the Mount Cellar.
Yeah, you're sacrificing Glowflies for a Mount Cellar follow-up.
Really like this from Glory. He's going in and also immediately cashing in the power of the wild. Make sure that Alutemu can't take any value trades for himself.
Yeah.
Wow!
Well, okay. Alutemu has some plays now. He could reach board parity here. He could just clear his opponent's board with Power of the Wild, Crystal Power, Wrath, Hero Power is a complete board clear.
There's also Power of the Wild with Soul of the... He ends up with 4 2/2s versus 2 3/3s. Not all that clean.
The big difference here, Gia, is that Alutemu is going into 8 mana next turn, whereas Glory is going into 6. And the difference between 6 and 7 is galaxies apart in terms of what you can do. Overflow, Mount Cellar, and obviously the Ironbark and Bog Beam becoming active is just all the difference in the world. So for Alutemu here, I think unless he can find anything better, just going for the baseline play once the rope starts burning of clearing the board is probably winning.
Right, puts him in the difference between 7 is galaxies. The difference between 6 and 8 is universes.
Yeah.
That's not actually how it works. Druid 7 is the big cutoff point. But yes, Alutemu is just going to be clearing off the majority of these. Still puts himself about even. And next turn gets to go Mount Sullar with 2 spells minimum. Ooh.
That is a good draw, though.
Very good one for Glory. It allows him to open up Mount Sullar for a response next turn.
Interesting.
Oh, this is so tough. Ever just say Soul of the Forest this board to
I'm looking at it.
Resources.
Yeah, I'm looking at it quite heavily. The counter argument is, of course, it's just always good to clear against Druid, so Wrath for cycle and a hero power to take out an extra one. But this is just more resilient. 2 minions on the board don't do that much.
I supply only the
Is this a back and forth Druid mirror, Derek? Is that what we're seeing today?
Can't be. My eyes would be lying.
Oh! Griffins are all in Japan. It is endemic. Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. Not back and forth. Alutemu's running away with it.
Gee, this is Glory we're talking about here.
Okay.
Please, have you
Alright.
not learned your lesson? Oh my god.
Okay, I guess the third rush is actually not so good
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this one
That's
just
just
dies to a
one.
Moonfire. But Glory only has 2 spells to pair with this Mount Sullar. And neither of them are removal.
I supply only the finest creatures.
That's a good one, though.
Those are fine creatures. Fine
That's
creatures?
another good one.
Hello? You are only allowed to play Druid if you're Japanese. That is just the rule. But for real, Alutemu is still so far in the lead here. I think you cycle the Wrath. There's a lot that you can draw into.
Well, yeah, the only question is whether you play the second Mount Sullar first and just use that to dominate the board.
Sure. If that's the play, you don't end up cycling the Wrath because you've
Yes.
spent all the mana for that. Oh, looks like he's dealing 3 with this. Oh, never mind. Just a slow animation.
So now he
That
can
was so
take it
cute.
out, heal up
Oh.
almost to full
Ugh.
on the Mount Sullar. Insane.
And if he gets an Innervate, he can go bait Crystal Power as well. The Zixor's in hand!
Waits for no one.
Derek!
Zixor Prime, Three's Company on the King Mucklers as well.
Oh my goodness. Okay, what are we looking at? He could take down the Mount Sullar without using the Mukhlas if you use 3 spells and a hero power. Problem is, I think Glory really wants to find a way to fit in his own overflow for this turn.
Mm.
So maybe bullet with 1 Mukla. You go Bog Beam, trade Crystal Power, deal 2 to the Mount Sullar, and then 5-5 into 5-3, and then overflow, or just this way.
I mean, I like everything about that, apart from saying King Muckler needs to bite the bullet, or you will get years of unfunny memes spawned from that one.
Not sure if I like this. He could have ended up 5-5 versus 5-5 into 5-2. But this way he saves the Bog Beam in head in case he talks his own Mount Sullar. But is that even gonna matter if Alutemu can put just a ton of stats with this Zixor Prime? That is illegal.
Yeah, it's just not going to matter at this point. I hate to say it, but I think Glory is going to lose a game of Hearthstone, let alone a series here.
Say it ain't so, Derek.
What is he thinking? How does Alutemu possibly lose if he goes for Zixor Prime buff? I don't think there's anything in the deck.
I agree.
Like, we're talking Ysera double innovate draw into every dragon in the
Evasive
deck
worm.
being a taunt.
Yeah.
Or an evasive one. And that just doesn't even come close, of course. Alutemu equalizes this series. But one thing I will say here that I'm glad Glory is able to see the funny side. of this, because sitting at 4-0 now, he is all but guaranteed to be through to the top 6 of players. I think pretty much guaranteed, actually, given how poorly Chonsu and Kin have been doing so far down at the bottom of Division A. And so when he's playing up against a friend like this, he is able, I think, to see the funny side, even though he is, in the first game, getting a dominant victory.
Right, even in that first game, we saw that from Alutemu as well, when Glory pulled the lethal out of nowhere. I think Alutemu was having a bit of a laugh himself. These two know that they're in a comfortable position, and what a luxury that is, and kind of a breath of fresh air compared to some of the other series we'll be seeing today, where it is really going to be everybody's hearts on the line because we're close to the relegation spots and the end of Grandmasters possibly for 3 players.
And this is why I've been talking about in Asia Pacific. It feels like the top is moving upwards and the bottom is moving down, because when you're down at the bottom in scary relegation zone, the pressure's getting to you, more misplays, more ropes. Players are playing worse because of that. Whereas up at the top, Glory is a player who we have seen, to be honest, be one of the most susceptible to stress. He has made quite a few misplays when he is roping out or in these scary situations. But now he's playing very, very strong Hearthstone indeed, because he's got a good mindset.
Indeed. And even though these two players don't, I guess, as much stakes to play for compared to others, still excited to see this priest from Alutemu stuff, get the work done, and prove why it is potentially a great bring for this week. And knock on wood, maybe, priest for Alutemu could still run up into rogue, which I think is a pretty good matchup for the priest, even though that's not the most popular opinion at the moment.
You think that the rogue is unfavored versus the priest?
Yes.
I would agree with you there. I think that the rogue struggles to be aggressive enough anymore, especially in terms of burst, now that Leroy has gone. That was traditionally the strongest arsenal in rogue's toolbox, or weapon in their arsenal, in order to fight back against priest, was the fact that they could burst for up to 18 damage, it felt like, with Leroy's and eviscerates and all that nonsense. Nowadays, you are playing a much more value-oriented game, and priest just cannot be outvalued at the moment, not even close. And because of that, you have to play a slightly more aggressive game again, which you've lost the tools for. It gets very weird.
Yeah, we're going to see that exact matchup, thankfully. And you had very good, solid, logical reasoning for why Priest is favored against Rogue. I'm just going to say I played one game of this matchup. I sold one. I discovered another Galakron. My Kronk said I played activated Galakron and drew my other Galakron at the same time. And I just knew from there that this is unwinnable for Rogue.
The Fate Weaver, I definitely don't mind holding on there for Alutemu, who's already got one of the Invoke cards in the Disciple O Galakron, and so just needs a little bit extra to start doing the absolutely busted plays with reducing his entire hand.
This is just such a great curve for Alutemu.
Yeah.
Just going into Thoughtsteal on 2. It's great because Rogue is a bunch of invokes.
I can just almost hear, with you saying Thoughtsteal on 2, a Maz through the passages of time screaming from the past. Yeah, coin Thoughtsteal was the nuts I was telling you guys all along.
Amaz is just playing Battlegrounds these days, so not as far off as you think.
Fair point. He's never as far off as you think. Now moving on to the secrets in play for Glory are at the moment not especially impactful. I think you're really just looking for dirty tricks there to keep drawing through your deck, because at the moment his hand is really not getting the job done. He can start spending his mana a bit more efficiently on the following turns with Maniac, Lackey, Miscreant, start doing all the usual Lackey nonsense. But he really needs one of the big cards, the meaty cards, like Galakron, Kronks, or Togwaggle, to really start turboing ahead in this game.
I mean, if we just compare these two hands, of course, Priest was on the coin, but these two decks are trying to do the same thing in the early game, invoke their Galakron and not run out of value while that happens. And if you compare the amount of value generation has, if they just steal one of Rogue's value generation, it just compounds and compounds. We're seeing a Seal Fate and a Praise Galakron, 2 invokes that didn't even start in Alutemu's deck. That is just nuts. He just has to be scared of ambush, I suppose, and that's the reason his 3-drop here. But even if that does come down, he could answer it on the following turn for the Seal Fate.
Yeah, unless it trades in and takes a value trade versus the 2-2. which is pretty troublesome. I guess the thinking is that even if that happens,
Yeah, Shadow
as long as Glory develops anything, exactly, he's got the Shadow Madness to steal the poisonous on the other side.
That's so crazy. Glory could go for a value trade and seal fate for himself, I guess in the other order. Just clear off the board by seal fating the 2-2 trade into the 3-4 and say, if I don't play anything, you can't steal anything from the board at least.
That is, as I have learned here, a dangerous game to be playing, because then you are committing to the unconventional, yet still viable strategy of never playing a minion for the rest of the game, which I find generally doesn't work out all too well.
For best mana expenditure, of course, you could just go Devoted Maniac for the full trades, leave Alutemu to develop something, and then try to go off with Seal Fate on the following turn. The problem is, it's a while off from being able to easily combo out the Miscreant. Well, the Lackey will make it much easier. And he also doesn't want to be leaving himself an empty board going into either the Fate Weaver or Coin Shield of Galakron turn for points.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to remember here for Glory is that as long as you're not falling too far behind, it's just fine, because you're never going to pull that far into the lead versus Priest in these early turns, unless you hit an uncontested Edwin, which even then happens extremely rarely, given the removal that Priest has. So he just needs to try and pray that he finds one of the big drops, as I was saying.
There is 2 Shadow or Death in the deck for Alutemu, so yeah, even the big Edwin Priest sometimes has a check for. Alutemu knows that this is either Boozle or Dirty Tricks, since he hasn't played a spell. And I think a big reason for him not playing a spell on the previous turn was to not give Glory a Dirty Tricks activation.
Not too quickly.
I mean, now, of course, the problem is the Bamboozle as well, which he knows it to be.
Is this a problem? He just has Poisonous.
Yeah, true, that's pretty insane. As long as Divine Shield doesn't come down, he's alive.
Can even coin heal for the value trade.
Yeah. It's just looking great for Alutemu. Whenever he wants it as well, of course, Seal Fate can function as an invoke for him in order to get another Priest minion instead of a Lackey, although it looks really weird when it happens. And then Fate Weaver's rolling, Galakron's rolling, the Kronks becomes active thereafter. Even if he wasn't to draw another card for the rest of the game, Alutemu is still looking in a decent spot.
You know, I agree. This hand has just so much going for it. And then the Galakron in whatever strange universe, if Alutemu does run out of things to do, it's just going to provide him more minions.
Yeah.
And Glory's hand is already running dry of value. Drawing the double eviscerates is really what he not want to see in the early game. But if the top of his deck provides, say, Hogwaggle or Kronks, follow up into a Galakron of his own, if he can get even a little bit of pressure rolling, maybe that 8 burst from hand will be what Glory needs to take a surprise victory.
Oh yeah, then we're talking.
A lot of theoreticals, though. Alutemu knows there are no more lackeys in hand, so I don't think it is particularly pressing to penance this. The only big punish would be Witchy Lackey. The Faceless Corruptor is also another one.
Yeah, I don't know, even just bouncing it back to hand to activate a Galakron that may be in hand.
Ugh, is this Abyss Face for a combo activation?
I mean, it's that or Miscreant Step Miscreant, which seems even worse.
Yeah, I think he is still just gonna Miscreant, but what is a hand of 4 lackeys gonna do? Versus Kronks, Galakron, Fate Weaver. Oh man. Okay, Draconic is a good one.
Draconic is fantastic. He can even just step that at a later point to get something to spend his mana on, if nothing else. Another invoke as well for Alutemu. Only one away from maximum Galakron.
Disgusting. Most of those invokes came from Glory!
Yeah. Just do what priests do best, Alutemu, and chill. No need to do anything else in these turns.
Oh, two secrets already played. Or can't even get additional value. But Glory could step his Miscreant, try to get an Ethereal Lackey back.
Cobalt's a good minion to get.
Okay. If you could scheme the Kronxes. I'm already trying to find some crazy Shaxi-esque out for Glory here because I just don't see how the value gets there.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's relying on something coming off the top in order to get it done now for Glory. But another Draconic Lackey is at least something that can get him mana to spend on the following turns.
Oh, man. How much are you willing to bet this gives Alutemu his 4th invoke?
I think it's quite likely, to be honest.
Does he even need to go for 4 invoke?
I mean, do you think it's just Hedge Clan plus Dragon Maw? It's a lot of development onto the board, I suppose.
Yeah. But the thing is, the argument for clearing off lackeys is Hogwaggle, at which point you know there are more lackeys in hand.
Right.
And they're still going into 8 mana, so it's not like removing lackeys shuts off Tog into the wand immediately. So I don't think he's particularly pressed about removing the lackeys.
I like this.
Oh! It's not another invoke, it is another Galacron.
How invoked is that? Is that
it's 0, yeah.
Does it start at 0? Okay.
I think I heard this from EU, thank you guys. That when you get an additional, that's the point when it starts invoking.
Right, okay. So, I mean, I was gonna say he wants to end on Priest Galacron rather than end on Rogue Galacron. I'm not even necessarily sure that's true. I mean, it's probably the slightly stronger battle hero power, but it's really just the battle cry of the Rogue one, which is insane.
Yep. Crucial though, that Glory has drawn a secret now. Maybe not for this turn, but later on, that could be the mana expenditure he needs later. Expenditure. Later on, it's a full turn, just Hanar plus secrets. And for now, he could play this evasive Draconid. It can't be targeted by death, but is weak to Soul Mirror foes.
And just a look at the ways that Alutemu has to deal with this. Soul Mirror alone, just to clear off everything and allow this Hench Clan to keep plugging face.
No, Derek, I don't want to look.
Well,
but
I can't force you, Gia.
Thank you. He doesn't need to go for the Soul Mirror.
I'm packing up. I don't have to work anymore.
Sorry, the Galacron starts as invoked as they've made it. That's my mistake. It's not as you've made it. And Glory played,
I wonder.
Hardly any invokes.
Yeah, I think it was just the one, right, of the Praise Galacron.
So it is just a level 1 Rogue Galacron, but it's still drawing a 0-cost card.
Yeah, exactly. It's something to consider.
Quickly.
And he could just play a Dragon Maw and heal up both of them, not immediately dead to the Miscreant.
Okay, well, he was considering going for the Faceless Corrupt there. The benefit is, of course, you remove the Death Rattle, but this looks a little bit juicier to me. It keeps it damaged, so it can't be hit with a Seal Fate or Backstab to be clearing any of it off. And it keeps the Faceless Corruptor for a later date.
So for you, he can clear a fair amount of this with the Cobalt and the Rush. Question is if he would rather, say, isolate this 8-5 and go for a Hanar turn, but he's just going to start to Discover. Dragon's Horde is interesting. Could be value that he needs later on.
Yeah, I mean, these are both pretty decent, right? As long as he's not playing big minions of his own, the Plague of Madness is acceptable.
Yeah, because he immediately heals back up from
Right.
killing the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Malagos?
Uh,
Oh, he doesn't have any more
doesn't have any
dragons.
dragons. Yeah.
But can you be reasonably certain that you get one off of a lackey generation at some point?
You can, but I think at that point it's just cards, right? Because it's just an insanely powerful card.
Yeah, against priest as well. He's gonna hold on to the Plague of Madness. He didn't actually need it to deal with the 8. Probably save it for a bigger minion later on. Horizon comes to mind. Okay, we get to find out now just how invoked this Galakrond is. If it's according to what Glory has done, it should be level 1 with 1 invoke left to go up to the next level.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. I mean, of course, he could go with the removal now of the lackeys. If he's been keeping track, he will know that there are no more lackeys in hand, and therefore removing on this turn becomes a lot more valid to play around a top deck of Togwaggle.
Dark in the sky.
Oh, wait, this is invoked according to what Alutemu had, right? 3 invokes.
Maybe Glory played more, right? Because he also had the Devoted Maniac, so I think it was
Okay.
what he had
According
along
to-
the way.
okay.
Yeah.
Darkness wanes.
And that's a free time rip for a 4th invoke for the Priest Galakrond.
Oh my god. I mean, you can
doesn't
just
even
chill
look
on this turn. The
close.
Breath, the Infinite, I am strongly considering just to play around Togwaggle off the top.
I never lie, but I never tell the truth.
Right?
But now for Glory, of course. Shadow Jeweler, spend your mana. Next couple of turns, we can see Seal Fate coming down on whatever the Priest plays. And then Galakrond can work its magic for Glory at a full invoke.
These are not particularly impactful. The Flame Ward does pretty much nothing. Priest won't be going face until you're already dead. But he had to take a non-rogue secret to keep the train going. What? These are terrible options. Where
These
are
are
the
pretty
counter
terrible
spells? Even
Okay, goes
Pressure
with the
Plate.
Seal Fate this turn, just to guarantee himself the Galakrond on the following turn. Full invoked. Now the game starts getting interesting here. Glory
Indeed.
can finally do some powerful things.
Yes, and it will rely on him being very wise about how he spaces out his threats. Oh my gosh. And that Horizon
course-
can just get the battle cry of the other
Right.
Galakrond as if he needed another rogue Galakrond.
You fell right into my trap.
Okay, he's ruled out Snipe and Repentance as well.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes Kronk's AoE, he'll find out it's not Redemption either.
Yeah.
If he goes Kronk's Face, he'll find out it's not Oh.
And I guess the most important thing he can do this turn is, or what he would like to do if he could, would be to try and clear his own board in order to set up for a Murazon next turn, but or clear his hand, sorry, but
Yeah.
I guess Glory probably isn't going to be drawing that many cards because obviously you don't get the battle cry of the Galakrond. And so he could just develop his own board after Glory explodes on this turn with his Murazon.
I actually don't know the interaction of copying a hero card.
It doesn't do the battle cry, but
Oh,
you do
okay.
become
That's
the
fine,
enemy character. Yeah.
Okay, so he's held on to this Plague of Madness for a bigger minion than an 8/5. I'd be pressed to think of others than Kron aside from Murazon.
Oh, up to no good? Me too.
He's holding off for an entire extra turn here. Which I'm pretty surprised by. He can, of course, make a big tempo swing on this turn with the Mind Flayer card, which is the big reasoning behind it, I'd have to guess.
And by putting it up to 4 attack, it can't be Shadow Madness now.
True, but it can be hit with Breath of the Infinite and then swing with the weapon.
Sure.
Like, no matter what you do, there are punishes that Priest can hit you with.
It so often does feel like that, doesn't it?
Or, I mean, for all we know, 0 mana Time Rip looks pretty good as well to take out a 6/6 if you don't want to tank the damage.
Yeah. So gives him his 4th invoke, so the Priest Galakron can have its full effect as well. Although it's getting to a point where Glory hardly even has minions that the Galakron can kill all of them.
Double time and double pay.
You fell right into my trap.
Alright, with this, Alutemu manages full mana expenditure, swing onto the board.
Yeah. Holding back on the Time Rip as well.
Oh, okay.
Which I was anticipating just to keep something extra alive on board.
Me too. I feel like he's got tons of removal, even if a huge Edwin comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think
Galakron itself.
he could definitely start turning on the pressure, especially as it would fully invoke his Galakron. He can start going off with the weapon then as well to try and close his opponent out of the game.
Still no Togwaggle in sight. Glory, as long as Alutemu isn't putting on very much pressure, Glory is not pressed to develop anything of his own, right? He could just hero power and force Alutemu to do something, lest he overdraw.
Right, but this is the kind of the big salient point of the matchup now, as we end up in this kind of stalemate where both players aren't really developing much onto the board, and they're just kind of developing value. And when that goes to the super late game, generally Priest just wins, Gia.
But we haven't seen the Shaxi strat yet. It's available, Derek.
Are you talking about the, dare we even mention it? The golden kobold. I can't even say it, apparently. It's so forbidden. Golden kobold.
I am talking about that because, look, how does Glory scrounge together enough pressure to actually beat Alutemu? He doesn't. He's used both Eviscerate, so he can't get the burst either. And I think at most there's just one Shadow Step remaining, so the Kronks doesn't do very much as well.
Yeah.
He just waits, forces Alutemu to do something, and if it's not high pressure, just gets his Hogwaggle, transforms a hand of lackeys into a hand of berries. Maybe that's his shot.
The problem is, of course, that I think Alutemu can start turning on the pressure.
Right.
And, you know, Glory has removal for the moment. Obviously, Kronk's Flick, Backstab, and the Kobold Lackey are pretty good to clear off at least a couple of waves. But the Murasont coming down now means that Glory might have a little bit less pressure to worry about, because this is a staggeringly low value Murasont for the matchup.
It really is. I think this is Alutemu saying he's got far more than enough value. He starts to put on the pressure now. But it walks into what Glory was kind of playing into by holding on to this Flick. Simple removal to hold on to far more resources.
I am left puzzled by this play, because this is one of the most key cards in the matchup for Murasont.
Right.
According to the top Priest players, you're keeping it in the matchup just because of what it can do. I mean, mainly against Wondrous Wand is the best thing that you can hit with Murasont by a country mile. But even if you're just hitting Kronks, or they play a Baseless Corruptor for a 4/4 rush, Flick just for a 4/4, you can get so much more value out of it than just that. Whereas Alutemu had other options of just playing out his minions, but now all of a sudden, because
Wait, is this lethal with Kronks?
what?
Well, maybe not lethal yet, but it is a lot of damage if he went Kronks for a lot of minion burst. He was too off lethal. He went Kronks for +2/+2 on 3 of them and the Kobold Lackey face, but he looks like he's made a huge mistake. Glory, worried about the missed
What
damage.
just happened?
He got a Grom!
Wait, with the Blackjack Stunner on his own Kobold, did he have lethal there?
It was too expensive. 1 mana off, right?
But no, he wouldn't have played the Faceless Corruptor.
Oh, right.
What is
That was lethal!
That was just lethal.
Oh my god.
It was one of the most ridiculous lethals I've ever seen.
Indeed. Come from
But it was
nowhere.
there.
And it's still available next turn is the big thing. Glory can just step his own Krunks. Because they're both 0 cost.
Oh!
But Alutemu, he's looking to buff this Grom and then so he can get the heal. That is so brilliant. Oh my god.
swings?
Gia, that would have been the best ending to a game ever.
It really would have. In the middle of us all these far-fetched, wild, far-off possibilities, and how the priest ultimately gets there, what they're supposed to save all of these cards for. Glory could have just turned everything on its head, but
Oh my
spotted it too late. Alutemu had the heal, and now it's back to the drawing board.
Okay, so he still has the budget as all heck, but technically Shadow Step on the Kronks with the Blackjack Stunner, which thankfully, due to the buff to Blackjack Stunner, only makes it cost 1 more instead of 2.
Oh yes, this is a buff.
So we're
Make no
getting
mistake.
somewhere close here. There are lethal possibilities that could start showing.
Right. I
And
was even
that's
wondering.
one of them.
Oh my gosh! Is this lethal now? No, it's not. Of course,
No, 'cause
the
it
Shadow
goes
Step
back up to
Kronks
4.
go
Yeah.
back up to 4. But next
But-
turn.
Next turn, we are looking at Kronks for 5, Black Jacket. It costs 7 then? Oh no, you can't play it all in one turn.
5 more minutes.
Gia, there's something brewing here.
It will take 2 turns to set up, but it is brewing. And importantly, Alutemu's healing is limited now. He has Penance, but none of the renews. The Sethics could generate a bunch though, so it's gonna have to be pretty key generations. There's a renew. There's so much healing possible. Apotheosis, Renew, and the other Radiance card. This is so wild. Would he overdraw if he plays Master Spell?
Well, he won't get a spell right because it's not targeting.
Ah, true. So every spell targeted gives him back a net gain of 1. This is just ridiculous.
He's got too much now.
Could renew his face so that it doesn't generate. Wait, then you just
Well, that still
discover.
makes one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you could just stay at 9 and not hero power.
I mean, yeah, I guess he may as well do it here. Waxamancy is value, okay. Oh yeah, of course, he's getting rogue spells now. I didn't even consider that. Because he's rogue Galakron.
Yeah.
Oh my god. What is happening to you?
I'm still tunneled on the previous turn from Glory.
I'm never going to get over that. We were this close to Hearthstone greatness, Gia.
Can't see your camera right now, so I don't know what type of gesture you're making with your
My
fingers.
fingers are
for this
really close together.
All right.
Really close.
Really close. Understood. Alutemu needs to play a non-targeting spell if you just want hand space. What is this? Like he's going for the Galakron to play something that doesn't generate more spells. Because as it stands, these Master spells are kind of trash. He doesn't want to cycle farther into
Yeah.
his deck and put himself closer to fatigue.
I mean,
That's
it's
a
a
factor again.
It's a very dangerous game to play double Sethek at all, because you very quickly end up in the completely overdrawing your entire deck
Right.
situation.
The time rip.
Which is why I'm, very happy with this here. And of course now the Invoke generates lackeys because he is
Rogue Galakron.
Rogue Galakron, right? Even though he still has Priest Galakron in hand.
Wait, that's the other blackjack. Could he just put together lethal over 3 turns?
No.
Yes? Maybe?
Serious answer? No, I don't think so. I think there's too much disruption that can come down from the Priest there.
But if he just doesn't interact with Alutemu's board, at most he leaves 1 blackjack on the board. Then Alutemu can't kill off his Sethix, and then he's hand locked? We talk about board locking with freezes.
Oh my god. No. I mean, just...
This is the out I'm seeing! There.
How much damage actually is it, though? If he goes Galakron
It's
for
4
5,
procs.
Shadow Step it.
It's 4
So that's
procs of
20,
right?
plus the weapon, plus the Kobold.
Kobold. 20
It's still 1 off, right?
But he could just generate a lackey at some point. But I like that
Plus
he's not
the
doing
eye for an
anything
eye?
right now. Oh yeah, that Oh my god.
Exact
Okay.
lethal!
But Alutemu is probably gonna proc that this turn.
Yeah.
That is an Alex Straza that is, if not active, very close to being active.
That is a absurd minion to hit off of Waxamancy.
It really is. But the problem is Alutemu just can't create hand space.
Can he
could
turn the
play
Master
his
Spell
own
upside
Galakron?
down so it silences his own minions?
I think he can just play his own Galakron here for any lackeys. It gives him a weapon to start facing?
Surely you'd rather just play like
Okay,
Shadow
the
Word.
plus shield plus lackey.
Sure.
And he's board locked as well. And that's a discover! It's not something that gives him more space!
Oh my
So he-
god.
To not get board locked.
Well, to be fair, he's got most of the good cards, right? He's got the Galakron, he's played the Kronks, he's had Murazon.
Okay, this first looks like it's going for AoE.
Is nigh.
Glory could be going the Sane Man route for what I suggested, which is instead of all the Kronks going face, he's going for just board clear after board clear after board clear.
I'm not gonna lie though, Gia, I 10% expected damage to face stepping back to try and go
Okay,
for the
wait,
lethal.
he got a daring escape. He can just bounce this
Oh
again!
my god.
I'm losing my
This
mind.
is actually a setup for like 5 Kronkses for lethal.
Yeah, one
I mean,
of
he
them
needs
for
another
board
secret
clear.
now, which he has with the dirty tricks, to be fair.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Darkness
That's the problem. He can't do the Kronk step all in one
Right.
turn unless he has enough secrets. But he can bounce this Ethereal Lackey to get another secret. Possibly. Maybe. I don't know what Earth we're living in anymore. That's another secret!
That's another secret. I didn't even see what the options were at the end. It was too quick.
I think it Waxamancy and something else, but
Yeah.
that's the worst secret to get because Glory getting close to fatigue. If Alutemu plays a
Exactly.
spell into the dirty tricks, he could just be taking too much damage. But in the meantime, Alutemu's hardly putting any pressure on the board. We are looking at this world of infinite Kronkses.
Or we are looking at the world of finally Togwaggle has come down,
Okay.
and we could just see Golden Kobold to get rid of all this.
No. No more Shaxi lines. Glory has a winning line in hand. It's gonna take a while,
Oh
but I
my
take that
God.
over random legendaries.
So Crown then. How about those random legendaries?
Wait. So he hero powers over playing a crown this turn? Or is he just taking the kobold? Is going back to the Shaxi line anyway?
The problem is Crown does nothing because he knows that Galakron is
Yeah.
almost certainly going to be in hand.
Mhm.
And if not, then, you know, Shadow of Death, Time Rip, whatever it is.
Mhm. I like the infinite crown. Okay.
Yeah!
Is it Taz? Noswhisker? If he had Scheme... Wait, it doesn't fit in
Oh
the
my
hand,
God.
but it would have
Yeah.
been so...
If he had Scheme and could have 50 cards in hand, he'd be sorted.
You just need to generate for yourself that Warlock Legendary that lets you hold 12.
Yeah. All right, Dragon Queen now.
Okay.
You were talking about lack of pressure. Here it comes
Yeah.
from Alutemu.
There's no more time for messing around. Another Horizon and a Zeraku who would activate right now. Hello? So we're back to the Kronk Step Kronks or AoE plan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just won't have time.
Okay, that's just funny, and I won't hear anything otherwise.
Alright.
But even that doesn't clear the board. It still leaves a Zeraku that you have to attack into.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can't do it all this turn. Oh wait, he can.
He can, yeah.
But he can't get the Kronks back in hand for others.
Right.
So the Blackjacks now step. They don't step. They turn into legendaries. We've come to this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wait, is he? He's just. Oh, okay.
Okay, he can go with the triple step.
Sure. He's stepping opposing minions, which is what sane people do with their Blackjack Center.
I love how, like, 15 turns ago, we stopped even considering that it could sap opposing minions.
Yeah, I forgot that was a thing. And they're just straight up assassinating. Now Alutemu's hand is full. But this dirty secrets will make Glory Teague soon, but it will give him more
Yeah.
juice for the...
More juice. More juice.
And Alutemu just has this 10 charge scheme!
Insane.
Running out of cards.
Okay, this is gonna have to be the greatest kobold in history.
Gia, how quickly will you leave the call if I say the words Elysiana right now?
I would not leave the call.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Good.
I'll be here to suffer with you. Because I heard that Raven does that for Sottle, and vice versa.
I am beyond imagination.
Galakron plus Murazon. Yep, something's getting Shadow Step.
Okay, all likelihood, even if Glory does get Elysianas, he will hardly have time to play it. Because
Yeah.
Alutemu is just refilling, stepping the Kronks, which is active.
Out of cards.
Okay.
Ay. I think you should have swung with the claw there, but probably won't matter. Here we go!
Oh, come on, Glory. Give us a show, please.
Yes, he will. He absolutely will. Do it! Okay, that's
All right,
one more card.
juice. Brilliant.
Oh.
Here we go.
Okay.
It finally happened, Gia.
Brightwing. Antonidas Flick. Yeah, it finally happened, but he looks pretty dead.
He does indeed. I think we're seeing a reason why Golden Kobold is not oft seen in competitive Hearthstone matches.
This has to be lethal. It's Master Dispel and buff.
Yeah, it's a million different ways,
Yup.
I think.
Time Rip for 0.
Is nigh.
Sure.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Alutemu takes it up 2 games to 1 in, I think, by at least double the longest game that we've ever had here in Asia Pacific, and I, for one, loved it. I don't know what the European casters are even complaining about. That was great fun, and I am glad that Alutemu was able to take the win.
Just happens once or twice. Sure, I am totally on board. And you know what? That is longer than some series we've had in APAC. For sure. That was longer than Derek versus...
It's longer than some days.
Derek versus just casting in general. It was longer than Tyler versus Blitzchung from yesterday.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was indeed. But we're all done with it now, Gia. And we can move away from the Priest, all of that nonsense, onto some good old-fashioned APAC matches. Druid and Rogue. up against the Demon Hunter as the final deck remaining for Alutemu, which I think still, even after nerf after nerf after nerf to Demon Hunter, I would put in a slightly favorable position against both of these matchups. Not by a huge margin against the Rogue by any stretch of the imagination. I think they have a very decent ability to lock down the board early on, and then Demon Hunter can struggle to deal the lethal damage. But having said that, Demon Hunter is aggressive as all hell. Rogue has no healing. Generally, that is a recipe for a good matchup for the Demon Hunter.
Completely agreed. We tend to see that if Rogue does take the matchup, it relies on them playing their mid-game threats as quickly as possible, face as Corruptors to start racing the Demon Hunter rather than just removing and hoping to get their healing on. But it will just be the good old Druid first for Glory here. And we're already seeing heap of beaming sidekick for Alutemu, I think, to preserve one of his high-pressure minions from one piece of removal. Glory.
Hey, I got you, friend.
We are seeing the makings of a classic Glory hand already right now with the Fungal Fortunes. Just needs a little something extra, and we're looking at a very dominant start indeed.
Yep. Only question is if he wants to Crystal Power away a 1-2, doesn't seem particularly threatening. Save it for Battle Fiends or even Satyr Overseer. Alutemu's hand kicks off on turn 5. That is too late if Glory can hit a Glowfly, and he has.
What happened to Overcroft?
Is it cold?
Yeah, I mean, that does smooth out the curve. Now his game kicks off on turn 3, because we've got the 3-4-5 curve looking very powerful indeed.
And Glory did overdraw one Mount Cellar, so he's not getting the max spell payoff. So probably 6 flies though.
Hide behind your surface.
And
That in its own
Alutemu
right.
has Altruist Twin Slices!
Oh yeah, I was looking at the Warglaives, but just the 2 damage AoE might be enough to just win the game in its own right.
It will! I'm telling you right now, it will, Dara! Alutemu just has the rare answer to an early Glowfly. Glory cannot innervate to buff here, it's not in hand.
Yeah, my brain can't handle these 2 extremes. We just have one of the slowest, grindiest matchups we've ever seen on APAC, and now it is just a Zuma City, as our producer put it.
Yeah, sure. My brain can't handle it either. You know what? I doubt Glory's can. Because when is the last time this man has lost a series? He lost a game just a while ago, but this is just gonna be how the series comes to a close. Maybe not entirely over. He has this Mount Cellar double Moonfire to kill the Altruist, but there's still so much damage staring back on the other end. There's the Bog Beam to kill off Kayn, so if an Iron Bar comes off the top, the taunt could be preserved.
He needs taunts though, and he needs them right now. I'm thinking triple Grizzly or Patriarch is what's going to be needed to even come close to saving him. And I think even that might not do it.
Because of Warglaives.
Yep.
Had to be Iron Arc plus taunt. He's not even bothering to kill off the Kayn because he's not confident in getting taunts. And that is gonna be GG. The stark contrasts of Hearthstone.
Oh, you love to see it. And congratulations now to Alutemu. We've been asking now for weeks, Gia, who can possibly defeat Glory? And it turns out the real defeat was the friends we made along the way. As Alutemu throws on the shades even. My man.
Oh yes. We asked for a new emote. He brought props. Alutemu's the best.
Oh, the absolute best. I'm already just gearing up my sunglasses emoji tweet, which is going to make no sense. And everyone's going to be confused. Then in half an hour, they're going to go crazy. That is peak Hearthstone right there.
My gosh, what a series. We had not that much time to talk about anything in the last game. So much time to talk about the second to the last game. But everything was going on so quickly, concentrated towards the end. We couldn't get past the missed lethal opportunity. Was it even a missed lethal? I still have to go back and count the mana.
It was a missed lethal.
Yeah.
It was a forgivable missed lethal, but it was still technically a missed lethal.
All right. And then there was the Shaxi line, which happened at the end and wasn't really a line. It was just a way to concede in a flashy manner. And there was the opportunity for the many Kronxes one turn after another, which, well, we could see maybe it worked out, but you'd have to be a madman to consider it, or just have perfect knowledge of your opponent's hand, like we did.
Yep. It was a one for the ages, I think, there. But now, Gia, while we had a lot of fun with that one, given that both players are all but guaranteed to be in the top 6, even with Glory taking the loss there, now both at 3-1, showing so clearly.
Glory's 4-1.
4-1, yes, sorry. Yes, correct, sorry. Looking very, very strong indeed. And showcasing how good the Japanese players truly are. We can even take a look at the standings, I believe, now to see how it is shaking out after that second game of the day. Because, as I was just saying, this is looking like a match that we could have a lot of fun with. The next one, though, Gia, in Chonsu versus Kin, is looking a little bit more serious compared to that one, because these players are fighting for their lives in Grandmasters.
It is true, because even in Division A, if you end up in the bottom 2 spots, there's a chance that you get relegated depending on the results of the relegation bracket, alongside 4th and 5th from Division B. But Alutemu, what a story. He's made it all the way to the top of Division A. It seemed like he was creeping up there slowly, a little at a time, but because of his head-to-head versus Glory going in his favor, he just beats Glory in a tiebreak. King of APAC title. What a story.
Yeah, it's been a lot of up and down, a lot of fun here in APAC. But as I was saying now, Chonsu versus Kin is going to be the next match up, Gia. And we have seen from Chonsu, I think it's fair to say, some fairly standard strategies, but not the strongest play from him. I think that I've liked a lot of the decks that have been brought, but I think he has been quite consistently at